surface which makes an almost exact representation of graphics or text on paper. When selecting a printer, there are many things to consider. The speed of a printer is measured in pages per minute. It is affected by the complexity of the image and quality desired by the user. The color printing process uses the primary colors cyan, magenta, and yellow. For inkjet printing, the color black serves as a base or key color. The quality of printing is measured in dots per inch. The larger the DPI number, the better the image resolution. To make sure a printer is reliable, checking its warranty, scheduled servicing, and mean time between failures is a must. Lastly, one must consider the total cost of ownership, which includes initial purchase price, cost of supplies, pages per month, and many more.
There are several types of printer connections. Serial data transfer is the movement of single bits of information in a single cycle. Parallel data transfer is faster than serial data transfer. USB is a common interface for printers and other devices. Firewire is a high-speed communication bus that is platform independent. Ethernet is for connecting a printer to the network. Lastly, many home printers include a wireless antenna and software to connect wirelessly to your home or small office network. There are several different types of printers: non-impact printers and impact printers. Laser printers provide the highest quality print available. Inkjet printers are the most common printers for home use. This usually uses 2 ink cartridges, 1 color and 1 black. Thermal printers print using heat and has a wax-based ink. Lastly, the dot matrix printer, an impact printer, prints characters in the form of dots. This is a demonstration on how to add a local printer in the Windows 7 operating system. So let's begin by clicking on the Start button and then left-clicking on the Control panel. In the Control panel, click on Hardware and Sound. Inside of Hardware and Sound, there is the Devices and Printers section. Left-click on Devices and Printers. Inside that, you will see a list of devices that are present, as well as printers and faxes. We will add a printer, so let's left-click on Add a Printer. An Add Printer wizard pops up and it will ask if you would like to install a local printer or if you would like to add a network, wireless, or Bluetooth printer. We will proceed and choose a local printer and click on it, and then we need to choose an existing port, either LPT1, LPT2, COM ports, and etc. So let's choose LPT1. Then click on Next. We need to select a printer in this lineup of manufacturer or printers, or you need to identify Have Disk and provide the location of the device drivers on the disk.
For today, we will just go and choose a printer that already exists within Windows 7. So we have Canon as a manufacturer, and we will install a Canon Inkjet MP620 series. Highlight that and then click on Next. The default text box language says Canon Inkjet MP620 series. An optional step you can do is give the printer a name that identifies which printer it is. This will be useful especially if there are many different printers connected to your computer. Then click on Next and the printer is being installed. For example, if you do not want to share this printer, go ahead and select Do Not Share This Printer. If you do this, you are the only one that will be able to use this printer for now. Then click Next. If you want this to be your default printer, leave this checked. But if you're installing multiple printers into one Windows 7 operating system, you may not want the last printer installed be the default printer. So you potentially would uncheck the box to set as the default printer, and then click Finish, and we have now installed a new Canon printer on a Windows 7 operating system.
Another method of connecting is through a network share. For example, you can allow other computers that are on your network connect to your local printer by sharing your printer over the network. So after the printer share setup is complete, the other computers can now print to the printer that is connected to your computer. So your computer basically acts as a gateway for other computers to access your printer. But the drawback is that your computer has to be on in order for others to use your printer.
We will show you how to share a printer with a network in Windows 10. So first, go to the Start menu, then select Control Panel. Under the Hardware and Sound category, go ahead and click on View Devices and Printers. Right-click on the printer that you want to share, then click on Printer Properties. In this case, we will use HP DeskJet F45000. A window will pop up. Then, click on the Sharing tab. You will see there a Change Sharing Options button. Click on it, and then check Share this printer box. Then apply the changes. Press OK, and that's it. Other people on your network can now connect to this printer. All they need to do is add a network printer or your printer to their computers. To add a network printer, open Devices and Printers, then click Add a Printer, and finally click Add a Network, Wireless, or Bluetooth Printer. Then just follow the instructions on the screen.
This is a print server. It is a device that connects printers to client computers over a network. It can allow multiple users to access a single printer. Print servers have three functions. They provide client access to print sources, queue and send print jobs, and provide feedback to account creation. There are also three types of print servers: software, hardware, and dedicated. Software print servers are installed in a client computer, while hardware print servers connect the network and communicates with the printer. Dedicated print servers are used in a large network with multiple local area networks.
Have an inkjet printer, you know that keeping the heads clean is very important. The inkjet printers use very small droplets of ink, and they're coming out of very tiny little print heads, so it's very common that you will have clogging of that ink. This is so important that many printers will perform a cleaning process every day. If you start looking at your output, you notice there are a number of streaks or there's missing colors, then you probably have a clogged print head. Most printers will also allow you to manually clean the print heads. If you're doing a lot of printing or you want to be sure that the print heads don't clog, you can use that manual printing process in the printer controls. You might also want to remove the print head or the cartridge that contains the print head and manually clean it yourself. Usually you can get some isopropyl alcohol and very carefully clean the print head. You'll notice when it's dirty, you can visibly see when a print head happens to have a lot of clogging on it, and it might be an easy thing to quickly clean off and replace inside of the printer. Inside of your inkjet printer are the ink cartridges themselves. These are usually separate colors, so you might see a C, an M, a Y, and a K, standing for the cyan, the magenta, the yellow, and the K stands for the key color, which is generally the black color inside of the printer. Some cartridges might combine some of these colors together. So in this example, you can see one of these cartridges contains cyan, magenta, and yellow all in the same cartridge. One disadvantage with this is that if you run out of yellow, you have to replace the entire cartridge, even if there's some cyan or magenta still in the existing cartridge. Fortunately, these only take a few minutes to replace. They pop out, you can pop a new one in, and it usually spends a few minutes after replacing the cartridge, calibrating and making sure that it's configured perfectly for the printer. These cartridges are also mostly plastic, so it's always a good idea to recycle them when that's available. Here's a picture during the cartridge replacement. They're very modular. They snap out, you snap a new one in. It only takes a few seconds to replace the cartridges. When you replace a cartridge, the printer usually performs a calibration, but you can also run one manually. This is going to align the print heads to the paper so that you get perfectly straight lines and the colors don't overlap. This calibration process is usually automatic. You don't have to make any changes yourself inside of the printer. But if you do want to make some minor adjustments to the calibration, most printers will give you some options so that you can fine-tune the process. With any printer, we often run into paper jams, and an inkjet printer is no exception. There are a lot of different turns and twists as the paper goes through the printer itself. If you run into a jam, you may want to remove all of the paper from the trays themselves and try to get everything out of the way. At that point, you'll probably be able to see exactly where the jam is occurring. You don't want to rip the paper, it might get caught inside the printer itself. There's probably a way to easily remove it very carefully with just a little bit of pressure. You also want to be sure once you've removed it that there are no scraps of paper inside of the printer, or when you send paper back through, it'll simply jam again.
Here are the steps in troubleshooting printer issues. Step 1 is to identify the problem. Ask the printer owner questions, analyze and learn the root cause. Step 2. Establish a theory of probable cause. Create a list of the most common errors and then research for the symptoms. Step 3. Test the theory. Test your theories one at a time. If none of the theories can be confirmed, then you can create new ones. Step 4. Establish a plan of action. This can be done by writing down a plan to solve the identified problem. And that is how we perform troubleshooting printer issues.
One of the most common printer problems that people encounter is they hit print, nothing comes out. The paper comes out, there's nothing on it. The most common problem in that case is that you're out of ink. So you need to take your cartridges, and whether it be a standard brand name ink cartridge or a refilled or remanufactured cartridge, and make sure you've got ink in there, one way or another. If it needs to be refilled or you need to buy a new cartridge, do that. Paper jams are also another really common problem, and paper jams can really take place in a number of different places. They can really take place anywhere within the rollers or within the print head. It can be on the input or on the output of the paper. It can be a result of it could be a technical glitch or an electronic issue, or it could also be the paper actually getting jammed with a previous piece of paper not being loaded properly and getting flipped or not loaded correctly. So paper jams are also very common problems. And another common problem is you do get a printout and it looks somewhat like what you printed, except the colors are all different. You printed some black and blue text and it's coming out red and yellow, or you printed a picture and it looks very green. Oftentimes this is a result of still having ink in your cartridges, but you're starting to run out of one or more colors, so the printer is adjusting to still give you something that looks like what you printed, but it's really not right. So a lot of the printer problems are ink cartridge related, and paper jams, of course, also common.
In Chapter 11 we talked about printers, and there are 4 subtopics discussed in the video. First, we talked about the common printer features, its types, and what to consider when buying one. Next, we installed and configured printers. Then, we learned about sharing printers through wireless connections. And lastly, we learned some basic information about maintaining and troubleshooting printers.